there are multiple federal agencies, you know, that have offerings that we probably haven't even begun to tap into all of them. Even at the beginning of the year when I first got here, I was going to pay for some of their technical assistance. And now it's like, well, hang on, let's do a self-assessment and then we'll give you some of that for free. So that's the good news, but that is a sense of urgency that we're going to use and leverage, because frankly, I don't think our community as a whole has a sense of urgency in addressing our homeless situation at all. So would really like to inspire those, you know, to come, because I mean, I told someone, I said, well, right now I have a feeling you're going to pay me whether I really push this agenda or not. And I am just wired that I can't stand it. I have to push this agenda because we have people in our community who need us. So to me, that is one that we can use. We also created a sense of urgency because we brought in the National Alliance for Ending Homelessness to put together a what we called a HEARTH implementation clinic. Brought in, you know, HEARTH is one of the acts that's supposedly coming that's going to change, you know, or revise a little bit the McKinney-Vento Act. And with that, they already have performance measurements that, of course, we can't measure, but they have them, and that should be our goal, is to be able to, you know, measure how long somebody's been homeless. But and several other things. But we got to get together around 100 to 150 community stakeholders. We invited anybody who wanted, you know, who was passionate about this to come, but to put together goals. And we have 4 goals we're working on right now. One is a coordinated intake. The other is performance measurement. The other is rapid rehousing, and the 4th is increased focus on prevention. I was looking at Gary.
I would say that also that one of the things that's created urgency in our Central Texas area is growth. We've had the collaborative for the ICC and Williamson Travis, which is the largest, for a long period of time. We also have independent collaboratives that we support in Hays County and Caldwell counties. But more recently, housing is booming in areas like Bastrop County, Burnett County, for example. And with that growth comes all of the problems that are associated with more urban environments. And it's difficult for those counties to learn how to deal with some of those problems. There are counties that we wouldn't have thought of years ago of having a significant homeless problem, of having gangs in counties, and certainly low-income populations without health care. It's new to the governments in those counties. There are many resources, but what we try to do as the ICC is it's very difficult for those counties, Bastrop, Burnett, Fayette, for example, we're working now, to pull themselves together. It's just not something they've done. So we provide a centralized seed resource that to pull those groups together, and we can provide our technology and other services to help generate some energy around that, and then they sort of take off and form by themselves.
I think also in collaboratives, I think we've found out a lot more. I know in meeting new people, meeting new agency, all of a sudden the sense of urgency goes up, because I didn't know where there was such a great need in the, I guess it's kind of this area. And I know that Dorothy at the Rose has been working with Healthcare for All, Health for All, that there is a real need in learning, in understanding where people are going for their health care. And that is spawning those smaller internal collaborations within our Breast Health Collaborative.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Out of 100 people that are homeless, how many of those do you think that want to remain homeless? I mean,
No one wants to be homeless, you know, no one. But are there some that, you know, that will choose it over A, B, or C? Sure. Are there some that don't want the program that you have to offer them because it requires you to go to church 3 times a day? I mean, not to pick on that, because that works for some people. But it's almost like if you went to your bank and said, I only want a checking, you know, and they said, oh, but you have to be our platinum, you know, customer. And so I think it's trying to understand what they want and their needs, and then matching something to it, which is not the easiest thing in the world, especially if you're mentally ill and you're not controlled on any medication. Those are the ones you might be thinking about most often. They don't want to be. Well, you know, yes, they want a place somewhere in the world, but somewhere in there we probably want to provide them with some things that, you know, they come in different forms. So, Tracy?
We oftentimes divide our homeless population into a pie of three, of thirds. The first third is people that have just hit hard times. Maybe they just lost their job and they were living paycheck to paycheck, and they might not even be homeless yet. They're at risk of being homeless, or maybe they're coming in and getting services. So if they come to the Beacon and get meals and laundry done for those 4 days a week, and they do the same thing at Search on the other days, they're able to hold on to enough money to pay their rent. Or they might end up needing, you know, emergency shelter for anywhere from 30 to 90 days. Then you've got your middle group, your next third, and there's something a little more substantial in problems with them. It's going to take them a little bit longer, anywhere from 6 months to 18 months to kind of get it together. They need some more intensive case management. They need some services. They might have a substance abuse issue that they're working on recovery with, but their goal is still to get stabilized, whether it's with a job, whether it's with regular disability income, some sort of regular revenue. And then that last third is the chronically homeless that Connie alluded to. And there is usually a mental health diagnosis. Oftentimes there's a dual diagnosis with a substance abuse issue where they're trying to self-medicate them. So some of them realize they're doing it, some of them don't. But if they're not on a regular, if they're not under the treatment of a mental health professional and they're not getting any meds that they need or what have you, then that's a more challenging population to deal with. And but those people still need our help and our assistance as well.
Thank you. Any other questions? I just wanted to, we've got only 4 minutes. So that's,
In our community, if there was not belief that we had homeless, and they tried to do a count, it was hugely unsuccessful. Would your organization be one we would go to get assistance on how to find the homeless?
You bet. Gary, I think Gary here is a tremendous expert. I've learned a lot. Partnering, I'll just tell you, we tried a different methodology this past year. We still use as many volunteers as we can muster, but we also partner up with special forces through the police department. So we'd be happy to share how we do this. The interesting thing on the point in time count is that I think a lot of people who are in that world don't realize how important that count is, because the largest funder is the government, the federal funds. They base almost everything off of those counts. They make a lot of their decisions off of those counts. So the way we're approaching it is there's two. We're going to give you exactly what you want by the rules that you have put into place, but we as a community have some rules too. We want to know more about who is in our community and what their needs are. HUD won't let you count those who are in jail. We know the ones that are in jail or about to come out of jail, that are homeless. So we're trying to get our hands on that. And Gail mentioned earlier too about evidence-based practice and research. And then, Carol, back to your question too, data is everything. So we'll share. We're happy to share whatever we know, I know you'll do the same. But we think that's really important, and for the state of Texas, we think that's important too. So,
and we're also exploring the idea of a homeless portal.
yes,
So excited about that.
Celine, can I
Yes, ma'am.
There was a question earlier today with board members, and I just want to say, if you're a board member, some of us have many hats and are members of boards, as well as being chairs of collaboratives and things like that. I want to say from Pink Ribbons Project, our board is so adamant that we are out collaborating, and I think as a board member, I'm proud to say that they're the ones that have actually pushed us out there and made a mandate that we find more partners to work with and different ways that happens. So I empower you as a board member to go back to your board, and I'm hoping today you learn that you can have that voice at the table to say, how much stronger collaborative efforts are, and how, they are difficult, but at the end, the result is usually very positive. And it's important for board members telling the executive directors of these organizations how important it is.
Well, and just one more thing on the board members, something to tell your boards is that we don't want to do it all. None of us do. I know my team doesn't want to do it all. And if we try to do it all, we can't fund it all. So just the more we collaborate, the more we can really focus on what we are here to do and what our mission is. And if we know that we've got a community partner out there that does this, we can make that connection. And so it's going to make us administratively stronger and financially stronger.
Staffs are stretched thin already, so.
We had a question back here, just one more question.
I wonder if there's any reference that collect data on second, third generation homelessness adults.
I don't think. Like, I think what we do is we collect more information on first time homeless or first generation. But Gary, are you familiar?
I couldn't really hear the whole question. Could you repeat it?
Do we?
I'm curious if there's any collaborators who collect data on
Second and third generation.
So your primary unduplicated homeless individual and their child as an adult.
We do. I mean, we do a community needs assessment. I know the Coalition for the Homeless, Houston Harris County, we do the community needs assessment, and we find out what that individual's source of homelessness, and it does go back to some of their family situation. Might not go back to the third generation, but for instance, there's tracking of abuse in the home and how that's a cycle. So I don't know if that addresses your question.
Generally, when I've seen, the question was, is there any collaborative that tracks the generational homelessness, whether it's second or third plus generations? The way I was going to respond to that is that I don't think we do that consistently across the board. That is not one of the requirements through that data collection tool. Where I have seen it gathered is when you do it as a focused project, and I think that's what Gary was talking about too. After we do the point in time enumeration, we may pick up and do specific assessments to find that out. So it may be a snapshot, or if there's some research going on, there may be a snapshot. When I was working with the organization that served homeless families with children, we actually captured that information just because that was kind of the area we were most interested in.
Thank you. Did that help answer your question?
What about the percent of individuals? Do you collect the number of homeless individuals and individuals who are no longer in the system?
Brenda, perhaps we can corner some of these guys after this session and get some additional information from them. And the charities will be happy to help you identify some of those sources too.
I was going to say one more thing about collaboration. There's a lot of thought about why don't these nonprofits merge? But there is some good research out there that shows that you actually don't get the economies of scales that you do in some businesses when you merge. But I think what Tracy was alluding to is that nonprofits, we don't want to do everything. So some of the smartest collaborations are when you look at where your strengths are, you stake your claim on that, and you start offering, and connecting that service, and then you start asking the same question: where are you the strongest? And so as we look at capacity building, we look at capacity building from the strengths of the different nonprofits, and that's where I think it's going to be an exciting model for us to continue.
Thank you for getting into my head.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Well, we're at break time now, and we're very excited to have Mr. Troy Bush with us here today because he's going to be moderating the Big Idea Challenge, which comes up in, I'll be back here at 3:05, and it's going to be an exciting and an amazing event.
Thank you. I got a hand up in the back that's paying attention to me. We're about ready to get started, so if I could have everybody please take their seats. I'm Troy Bush. I am the manager of community research for the charities, and I have been asked to lead our next activity. You may recognize me from the WOW video. I was in about 15 seconds up in the left-hand corner. Very, very brief, very, very small. I'm a little upset over it. I would like to take the time to thank Hexa Group for not letting me be completely cut out of the video. I appreciate it. I do think I have better legs than Linda Highfield, but
They're not green.
but they're not green. True, true. Gail spoke earlier of the challenges that St. Luke's Episcopal Health Charities has, and I'm pretty sure she was talking about me, and I'm okay with that. I'd like to thank Celine for asking me to participate today. You know, she talks a lot about having the people on the bus and having them in the right seats, and normally she just has me carrying luggage to in front of the bus, so I'm thrilled to actually be able to participate in this way. Have you guys heard some good stuff today? Yeah, I have too. I've heard some stuff that has really made me think, and some things that I've thought, I don't think so. Sandra, who is gone already, was talking about taking time to be with yourself and to be quiet. She was talking about having no television, no radio, and no shopping. And I am here to tell you that I have had some spiritual experiences at Macy's. And I am one that, you know, when I get my my discount cards in the mail, I find it to be a sign from God. I head straight to the mall. So I disagree greatly with that that point that she made. But other than that, I found today very inspiring and very uplifting. You guys had an opportunity earlier to put your puzzles together. Did you guys learn anything from your table mates, about your table mates maybe? We have talkers and we have doers. Anybody else want to share? Yes, ma'am. We have husbands at home that can do this. I agree. I found it interesting that at my table, the men were immediately going to start putting pieces together, and the women were saying, no, we have to read the directions. Opposite. Well, I will tell you, as a gay man, I didn't care about it at all. I was thinking our little worldly dervish thing would make a great hat topper for the next royal wedding. I didn't care if we got it put together or not. So, don't think you weren't thinking the same thing. I swear if I see any of you with that hat on, I will knock it off your head. I came up with it first. So, while you were on break, we gave you a handout, and this is going to help you guys with the next exercise. What we'd like for you to do is, at your table, yes, ma'am. Oh, wait, Tony, we need handouts over here. So, does everybody have their handouts? Okay, there should be, is there just one on each table? There's just one on each table. The exercise, you can take one on the podium. The exercise that we'd like for you guys to do is to take the next 45 minutes and really talk amongst yourselves at your table and look at and think about what your big idea would be. So if you had $1 million, and we all wish we had $1 million, all right? If you had $1 million, what would your big idea be? What would your table do to make this world a better place? And I know that everybody here can come up with a big idea. The sheet is to help you kind of explore your table a little bit better. Look at the assets of the organizations that you have at your table. Not only of the organizations, but of the individuals. What are the assets of the individuals? What is your name here? Charlie. Charlie has the big shoes on today. Has anybody seen Charlie's shoes? Stand up, let us see those shoes, honey. These are the biggest shoes. These are the big idea shoes, I'm going to call them. Shoot, Charlie can run in these.
Wait a minute, couldn't see him.
This is what we call an asset. So talk amongst yourselves and really think outside the box. Think about things that you normally wouldn't think about, and look around the table. Look around some of the other tables. Who are the people that you have at your table? Who are people that you wish you had at your table? You can share. Bill Diamond. That would help. Okay, so we're going to go until about 3:45, and then I'd like to have each of the tables report out about your big idea, okay? I don't know about anybody else, but I can hardly wait to find out what this table in particular is going to do. We have teeth, boots, and Tina Hall. I can't wait. That big idea is just going to be fabulous. I can tell already. Okay, go to work.
Down the road, somebody said, I know we missed it. And sure enough, we looked behind us at the sign, it's in Town Hall, 11 miles. It did?
Well, let me tell you something that came out in the meeting last week, and this isn't but it's where I thought, gosh, if we could have pulled that off. You know how the FQHCs are providing that primary care? FQHCs are in position to be our healthcare institution. And in the breast cancer, we can't, we have such a horrible time getting money insured or uninsured. Doesn't matter. It's all about time. It's all about convenience. It's all about insurance. And yet the right thing to say is, I go to my doctor. It was where I go and get my regular stuff. But it's one of those services you have to go outside. You have to go to another place and get it, and then you have to come back and get yours. And I said, wouldn't it be amazing if our uninsured people, if we could really get mammography inside qualified centers as a primary care item? I mean, it's already called preventative services. Why isn't it in there? Why does it have to be out there like a specialist? Wouldn't it be amazing if we got that whole comprehensive care? They need a specialist. Well, for us, yeah, we have a physician, but we're also part of the breast and cervical cancer providers, and that way we can go on to the Medicaid, and then they can just about, I mean, if anything happens in our Medicaid stuff, they may not. A lot of hospitals, I had only 2 oncologists, individual oncologists.
Let me ask you a question. Why is it that they can't read it when they take it? Why is it you always have to get the results later?
If it's screening, that's just the best use of your resource.
Yeah.
But if it's diagnostic, most things are listed our center. The doctor needs not touch it.
I mean, even as if they see something, you can walk out.
The screening is just we would be using our physician capacities to have 2 more physicians. And that is one of the things that's plaguing all of healthcare is
I'm willing to work with you on that great big idea. I think based on the numbers that they showed me, my bias would be to
That's all I'm saying. Good job.
exercise work together. So that
Way to go, Amanda.
I hear you. It's figured out. I'm just saying, and I'm willing to work on that.
Other issues that interfere with your life, plus a lot of fear about going back into school and entering into school. There's all of that. And then, fortunately for our program, our average age of the student is 40, which for our whole youth service program. And so that, ours is the first program that has one, the CHW program is housed inside of the human service, so they get actual college credit for it. It's not just that. And then ours is the first program that's beyond the minimum requirement. We do have an internship for a fraction of 224 hours associated with it. So even though they have graduated today for their CHW certification, we have an additional internship fraction hours that they will be doing during the summer.
In the big picture, so for our community, right, in its broadest sense, one of the reasons why people are homeless is for lack of jobs, stability, for the future, stabilizing the future. So stabilizing the future, the only way that will happen for many people is that they have a job, or at least job, yes, some kind of training, but for many of them, they don't have the skills, like stuff to get them in something to stabilize them to even get into the level of
That's kind of the same thing of the kids who are exposed to too much TV, too much computers, cannot distinguish colors from the kids who have not had that. They start, and you would think it'd be the opposite way, but it's not.
And their attention span is shorter because television has to change the image every 30 seconds. And we know that that's where a lot of our attention deficits are coming from.
It's affecting our, our population's ability to perform. And so the quality of tasks we're able to perform in the community.
Our government seems to be hell-bent on killing public education. And if we thought public education would help that, it's not. Because all the resources are going to private.
What I would add is if we focus on the children, would use family and community as the place for the work that's done. And I think we begin the process of reweaving the social
I wanted to tell everybody that y'all have about 10 more minutes. 10 minutes. Okay, time is up. Can I have your attention? Please work consistently. I love that there is so much collaboration in the room that you are choosing to ignore me, but I will not have it, people. I have one job and one job only today, and that is for you to pay attention. Okay. If we want to hear these big ideas, we really need to pay attention. So we have 11 tables, and we got 30 minutes before I know, because I know you've been looking at that agenda thinking, I want some free time. Actually, I know that most of you are thinking, I want the wine. I was told earlier, remind them that there's wine and cheese this evening. I said, let me tell you, they are very aware that there is wine and cheese this evening. It's the only thing that they are staying for. So, who? So we have some decisions to make. We can either each report out very, very quickly on our big idea, each 11 tables, or we can do 1 or 2, 3 tables maybe, a little more in depth. So you guys decide, what do you want to do? You want to hear them all? Okay, you want to start for us? What's the big idea?
Hello everybody, my name is Cecilia. And this is the Circle of Life table, so we've named our big idea after our table. It is the Circle of Life community care model. And what is our clear elevating goal? It's building a community, a volunteer community, driven to provide a care network for elderly individuals. And this is to fill in the gap of family support, and this is an open net that's now starting to appear. More and more of us don't have the family structure behind us as we're advancing in our years, or our children are some far-flung place across the globe, so we don't have the support we need as we advance. So what our idea is to create a community volunteer base that can actually provide that support. So the result-driven structure. Does your existing table have the desired leadership structure resources to potentially deliver the big idea? Well, yes. Of course we do. We already have a community model with Barry Omega. We have the technical talent. We had the idea of actually having a technical component where there would be a digital database where people could actually log in hours that or volunteer hours with special skills that they would be able to contribute to the community, and then community leaders could actually call on those skills in order to divert them to people who are in need within the community that need, like for instance, somebody to come clean a house or spend some time with an elderly person or do gardening or something like that, go provide care. We also have the creative skills to do the marketing, so everybody knows about this stuff. We have the funding, absolutely. We have people who are, yeah, she just walked out the door, but she still is going to fund it. Yeah, along with the charities. And then we also have people who are very skilled in navigation, training. Other assets we have is Omega definitely has a key volunteer screening program that's just absolutely excellent, so we'd be able to screen the people who would participate in this network. We have the funding from McNair, the knowledge of the senior community from St. James Place. This is a very strong collaboration over here. How unanimous were we? Oh, absolutely. Everybody's in agreement. Are the organizations represented at the table on the same page? Yes. Name other organizations, agencies, or community leaders that may be able to support your collaborative big idea. The charities. Schools. Faith-based organizations. We had Urban Harvest at our table before he had to skedaddle. We definitely see a need for him because we were telling him before the break earlier that we could really see a use for Urban Harvest to participate with seniors because it's such a wonderful activity and for all the generations to participate in together. So we definitely want them in participation. Medicaid, AARP grant, we could see they would have a lot of interest in this and providing support for people who are going to fall through the gaps. And principled leadership, well, we ran out of time. That's your fault. So we didn't answer that question, but I'm sure we'll have it.
Thank you, Circle of Hope. Okay. Life, sorry, Hope and Life, Life and Hope.
Okay, our project is the PhD project. Pretty huge database. We decided that we wanted a common reporting system for safety net clinics. And we started kind of the discussion about quality and outcomes, and then we discovered that we didn't even have a way to know how many patients we're seeing statewide at all the charity clinics. So we decided to kind of start at the bottom. Under results-driven structure, yes, of course we thought we had the desired leadership. Some things that we lacked would be technical components, common definitions of things we wanted to collect, internal processes, and a big one was confidentiality. How are we going to gather this data without compromising confidentiality? Competent team members, we felt our assets. We had funders, we had IT, we had the clinics, we had research expertise. A unified commitment, it was an urgency-inspired decision because at the 5-minute mark we had like 3 ideas going around. So yes, it was very unanimous. Under collaborative client, we wrote ready, set, go. Under standards of excellence, are we on the same page? Absolutely not, and that was part of, how would we know if we're even on the same page, because we don't have this information. Under external support, we felt any funder, any safety net clinics, public agencies, our quote on here is, "The world is waiting for this." And under leadership, we felt that we would have to set priorities, we'd have to get staffing, there would have to be incentives for participation, and of course it would have to be a collaboration.
Okay, our collaborative name is See the Future. C stands for Successful Education and Employment, and we are focusing on serving the homeless and getting them into the education system through HCC primarily, and ultimately to jobs. So that's the big idea. The problem is that our system does not really facilitate it for people who have not done well in the education system. So our focus is on people who have a GED but have not pursued any higher education, or they're very close to getting a GED. They dropped out in 10th, 11th grade and can get it within a few months. Competent team members, results-driven structure. So our structure really is looking at an intake system, a portal, as much like the breast cancer. So it's a way to get people in, filtered, and really assessed on what is it that they want to achieve as far as their employment goals. And instead of trying to plug them into something that may not work for them, and holding their hand to make sure that they can access the financial aid and actually the classes that they need in order to succeed. And of course, the study, the life support, housing, and the other support. And so that's going to take case management. So who's going to involve is the education system, of course HCC, the funding. We have Simmons at the table, but we would be looking at others because she's sweating bullets. Of course, the Coalition for the Homeless and service providers who have these students and have some education component within them. Surge has a big GED component, but also, the others that are lower than that. So competent team members. Our table, we came to this unanimous idea really quickly because we see that need and we know that there's nothing being done right now. So collaborative climate, absolutely, very flexible. We were created and we're ready for change, so we're open to this idea. Standards of excellence, quality, service, and metric collection, we don't have that yet. And so we're not going to enter into that with 5 minutes. So that will take some time to work through. External support system, working with the public library system, the hospital district, other funders, potential employers, and of course computer literacy. Many of our clients aren't going to be able to fit into the work system because they're intimidated by technology, and so they need those basic skills. principal leadership? Well, we have some big entities here, you know, the coalition, the HCC, and we can tap into the TEA, and but we'll have to figure out what that structure means, and yeah, that's a hard one.
Very good. Good.
Okay, who's up?
So when we first thought about this, I thought this was a fun game, but then it was really realistic. So we first named our project One Guy Table, but we actually quickly came up with mobile to home. And what this idea is kind of based on a military idea, where you're sending the mobile unit out and then starting to come back to, as Celeste said, you bring you take care of the emergencies out on the front line, and then you start to bring them back and get them into better places, safer, more stability, more sustainable places. So the pilot is to pair mobile with FQHCs and community case management workers. And we decided to do a pilot program, and because of who's at our table, which is a really strong, very powerful group, we have MIHOP, so we decided to go to Matagorda, because also AHEC is very involved in that area. So we're going to do a pilot program in Matagorda, which is huge. I just found out it's 14,000 square miles. Oh, 1,400. Oh, wow. Okay, well, even so, it's still big. So our result-driven structure would include MIHOP, AHEC, MIHOP is a National Health Service site, which means that the physicians would be coming out of a program that their education was paid for, and so they owe service back. And so they would be part of this team and owe time back to the community and be kind of the physicians on this mobile unit. And then we have, through Jeannie, she was going to provide research and be sure that we're all gathering the right data. Already in place is the Coastal Health Connection, so we felt like that would be the best place to launch this. And through the AHEC, we have training in place to do community-based health education. So once we've gone out and hit the emergency needs with the mobile unit and start to bring them back and place these the population into primary care, permanent primary care centers, we have the community health workers on the ground ready to make that happen. The competitive team members, let's see, we have assets at our fingertips. MIHOP, with a little bit of restructuring, would donate the van, and the van would provide kind of a full service array of medical services, everything from screening, diagnostics of colorectal, prostate, breast. It would have a pediatric, vision, dental, and then just kind of basic health, primary care health needs, immunizations, things like that. That would be out there, and again, introducing these communities to the health care that they need in a mobile situation to then get them placed into these more stable situations. We were 100% unanimous on this, right? No arm twisting, no, I'm just kidding. No, everybody was on board. We like your table, we had several ideas, and then we landed on this. We feel like this is already happening, so it's just really kind of fine-tuning what's out there with the $1 million that's going to come from St. Luke's Episcopal Charities. We feel like one of the tables is going to win, and it's going to be us. Because it's already in place, it's already happening, and it's going well. The standards of excellence are also already there. There's electronic health records that are already happening, and like I said, we've got these other things, these partnerships, collaborations already happening. It's just really bringing it together in a very unified way. External support, we think the schools, churches, the city, mayors of the area. We think the judicial system, hearing earlier from the homeless group, that this would also be capturing the homeless in this area by knowing where they are, and by having mobile units going out, you're actually getting to the populations that would probably not surface otherwise. And then working with the hospitals and again with the physicians that owe back to the community. And we got to the last question, and that was to describe the anticipated leadership. And because of what's already in place with Coastal Health Connection, as Leslie said, that collaborative effort is already being built as we're talking. So it's already there. So I think the grant is there. Anyway.
Okay, who's our reporter at this table? Gary?
Well, our table is very concerned about the growing divide between the have and have-nots and poverty. So we thought we wanted to be as big as possible. It's a big idea. We want to do a legislative shift in the state policy. So we're investing in an advocacy program, a campaign, and our program is called Leading Houston Home. And we're targeting payday lending. We're going to invest in public education, and we're going to have a legislative program that requires affordable housing to allow services to be there and knock down the barriers for people that are trying to access affordable housing. So if you're going to have a distressed property, then it needs to be able to have access for subsidies and for the people that are in poverty to stay housed. The results-driven structure. What do we have in place and what do we need? Well, we're lacking a lobbyist. So we need a really strong lobbyist and political will. But we have providers. We have very experienced providers with data. And we also have constituencies. We have the people that we serve, those who are in poverty or those that have need that is growing, and we want to make their voice heard. So I think that that is one of our biggest assets. Competent team members at our table. We have multi-level providers. We have the $1 million, so that's one of our biggest assets. We have strategy. We have the service providers who are working with people who are the working poor, and we have strategy and homeless providers for services for homeless people. It was definitely a unanimous idea at our table. The collaborative climate, we would describe the state of individuals within the group and the respective agencies with regard to collaborating in peer organizations. So we do have the housing providers, service providers, and the strategists all assembled. The standards of excellence. Are the organizations represented at the table on the same page in the delivery of quality service? Absolutely. The constituents would have more options for relief and choices for services. That would be the people who are in poverty. So that was our ultimate goal, is to have a fundamental shift in the legislation. Your external support. Here are some different people that we would like to have at the table. One Voice Texas, the charities, United Way, MHMRA, the Council on Alcohol and Drugs, and the Area Agency on Aging. And then principal leadership, describe the anticipated leadership structure and potential challenges for the collaboration you may face. We would definitely want to have a strong lobbyist and an advocacy campaign. The potential challenges would be, like we heard about earlier, turf wars or factions developing, and then also managing the nonprofit advocacy. In other words, how did the nonprofits become advocates and not worry about becoming lobbyists so that their voice can be heard?
Reverend Hyde, I didn't hear anything about Bill Nyman. Were they not going to let you do a fundraiser concert? I thought for sure that would come up. Okay, who's our reporter here?
We had a very interesting group. We had a lot of collaboration. We ended up coming up with our collaborative name. We had several. We had from Dynamite to TNT, Time to Network for Tenema. We felt like we had quite a large group from Tenema on our table who felt like we really had to address some of the obesity issues and eating problems in their city. And so we took it and we looked at $1 million. $1 million really can't do that much. So we thought we'd narrow down our focus. We didn't go as big as some of these other scale, or groups, which are fabulous. But so we did it a little bit smaller scale. And we decided to really focus on improving health through nutrition and doing a public service campaign. And we really felt like we had all the people, all the major players on our table, right? We have a healthcare systems, we have a dentist, we have an electronic health record system, and also another healthcare agency also. So we felt like we had a lot of people at the table, but we felt like we also needed to bring in, public radio, TV networks to really carry our message. And by doing that, by pulling those other resources in, we'd also ask them to step up and provide funding in order to provide these campaigns by doing, special videos, by, doing the service campaigns for us. What are the assets of our collaborative? Again, it's a lot of the different major players. Describe how our big idea decision was or was not decided on. It was unanimous, but it probably took 3/4 of our time to come up with this decision. So what was the state of mind of our group? Late in the day, our minds were a little slow, but we were definitely active and engaged. Now we talked about the organizations represented at the table. What could we bring in the way of delivery? We had some great databases. We were willing to share our information. Facebook was a big resource in Tenema. Surveys, links to websites, also to bring it all together. Now, what other agencies would we like to bring to the table? We'd like to bring Tyson, Pilgrim, Tenema Football National Stars, some other networks in the area too. And then basically our leadership structure would be Tenema. They would take the lead on it, and we would be, they would take care of the responsibility of the funding. They'd help distribute it to all the necessary players. And if I didn't say this before, we would really focus on mothers and children to get this message, because we really have to start from inception to reinforce good eating habits.
Okay, Communities for Children is our spokesman. Oh, like I had to ask. Remember, we want wine and cheese.
In the true spirit of collaboration and gleaning from what it is that we've been taking in to date, our table, we did not complete our entire assignment, and we're not ashamed to say that. But it was essential that we taught. Communication is going to be key to any collaborative, whether it be in the institution, whether it be on the grassroots level. So we took advantage of that key element in working and coming up with MindStart, and we're looking for our big idea to reduce the incidence of depression in the minority community. Major task, but nonetheless we felt that we did have what we needed at the table in terms of representation to at least get going. Because our company team members, we have academia represented, we have 2 grassroots organizations, we have a journalist, we have a community-funded PI, and we have community resources as well. So putting the various things that we bring to the table together to figure it out, one of the main things we did come up with was that we may not necessarily be the ones that will present the idea because of the stigma that surrounds depression in particular in the minority communities, that we would have to identify the vehicles and the people there in the community to make that happen. But we could it's important that we get the result, but we, again, don't have to be the ones necessarily out at the forefront. We agreed on it after we talked about it, because we had to talk about the kinds of things that go on in the communities that we know. And it is important that you know the community that you're getting ready to try to affect. So we talked about what we think would work, what we did not think would work, and brought everybody together on the table around those kinds of things. And that only took us up to being competent and agreeing. So get back with us, and we will let you know how this project comes out.
Okay, who's up?
Okay, we didn't spend much time naming the collaborative. We spent much more time developing the idea. And since I got assigned the task of being the spokesperson, and I think I have the right to name it. Or I take, I was assigned the authority to name it. And so we'll call it Refilling the Well, and there's a point there. Our focus was children. And so we saw the $1 million as seed money, because we're going to use that million and we're going to leverage it to at least $1 billion, because we are taking on an ambitious task. The well comes into that we want to make our children well. We want them to read well. We want them to eat well. We want them to exercise well. And we want them to know how to work and play well together. And that's our goal. It's very much a results-driven structure. We're very much driven by results-based, and we're accountable to those results. We want to see impact at the population level, at the community level, and so that requires multiple organizations working closely together and bringing the data together so that we can see if we're actually making a difference. Or, as Mark Friedman would say, is anyone better off here? You know? So, do we have competent team members? I'm not biased. I think this is the best team in the house. We do have leaders that are willing to work well together, and that's my definition of collaboration. Was it a unified commitment? How unanimous was the big idea? I think it was more consensus, and we were moving toward unanimous. Was there a collaborative climate in the group? Yes, it's a very willing, a very able group of people, almost to the T. They're all service. We are all service providing entities, but big idea. Standards of excellence are the organizations represented at the table on the same page in their delivery of quality service. Definitely yes to the service. To the question of metric collection, yes, but we do want results that matter more than the data, the metrics. And then external support. Given the area that we took on, we set some very high standards for other members to join us. We say that anybody or entity that cares about community, family, children, or our future can join our collaborative. And then finally, the principal leadership. We didn't finish that talk where it was much, we're at a stage in development where participatory management is the predominant role, but we know as we form the systems and the structures that we're going to look for some bodies that will help us to ensure our sustainability.